And good evening, MC Clubbers. It's been a while, hasn't it? It is Wednesday, the 21st of July of 2021, just in case you're wondering what year it is. And yeah, we're not going to talk about anything political. We're not going to talk about the terrible things that happened last week. We're just going to forge on and let's get... Oh, you see, now I've already forgotten how to do half the stuff. No, I don't want to go there. There. Yay, we got the playlist. We're going to have a welcome. That was your welcome. Secret sponsor, Technical Challenge Shapes. I've just got some examples I'm going to show you. They're on the website. And then just a message from the competition steward about naming images. And then we're going to go into the results. The Technical Challenge, Street Photography, Westville Challenge, Reflections, of course. And then the July monthly competition. Okay. So, Secret Sponsor Challenge. So, for those of you, if you're not quite sure what this is, we have a secret sponsor who is willing to give us money, just to throw it at us, like in heaps and heaps. Well, 1,000 Rand per category. So, this is where we are now. We are the purple. And these are the years before. And so the secret sponsor has challenged us to beat, by the end of the year, the previous year's totals, and then they will gift us 1,000 Rand per category. Now, last year we didn't do so well, but the sponsor was so pleased that we'd won the Westville Challenge that we were gifted 1,000 Rand towards our tea and cake. So that was very, very nice, but we want more. Okay, so here we go. This is the Technical Challenge, and this is the amount of points that are given. Okay, so we're really doing very well here. We're just a tiny bit behind there. Westville Challenge, we're a little bit behind. Monthly competition, I don't know, 2020 was a great year, apparently. We're all sitting at home with nothing else to do, but look at our photos. And then salons, 2019 was a very good year for salons. So what this is really is an incentive to enter photos. So if you're sitting at home, and I know that when the deadline's a Saturday and it's cold and it's 5 o'clock in the evening and you're already under the blanket and you're thinking, oh, now I've still got to go to the computer and decide what photos, and oh, I don't really have photos, and then you stay under the blanket. This is an incentive to get out from under the blanket. Take your blanket with you and put it over your lap and enter some photos, get some points, and we can get some bucks for our club. How about that? Thank you, secret sponsor. Okay. We're just going to go on to naming images. Now, the competition steward this month, there were 2 photos that were named the same. Now, even though they've got your name next to it, so Hyena Des and Hyena Des, when they are downloaded by the judge, the download goes, oh, the first one, and then the second one isn't downloaded because according to PhotoVault, it's already been downloaded. And so when the judge gets all the photos, there's always one missing and everything's out of order. So I am the worst. I just call it bird or bird in flight or lion sleeping. Okay. If you Maxie or Paul, who's incredibly creative with their captions, okay. So we need to do things like bluebird in morning light, white bird in flight, lion in dreamland, or, and I know I mock him a lot, Buskers in Ontario 299. That's the kind of thing that Terry does, and Rob does that. They put their numbers at the end. I promise you, I won't call out your numbers. The numbers are your thing. I will continue to call out Terry's numbers because I just like to mock him. It's fun. But we need to just be a little bit more careful with naming images, and then the judges just don't get grumpy and things like that. Okay, so I'm just looking at my list. Have I done anything? Welcome to names. Oh, yes. So now we're going to do the TC shapes. So I'm just going to stop this and I'm going to open the website. Okay, so we're here on the website. We're under general information, technical challenges. And I have just put up some examples of shapes. You'll see circular shapes and stars. And it doesn't have to be a lot, lots of logs like this. There were a couple of photos I saw for nature. So those twirly things. Gears, lovely geometric shapes there. Okay, these are lovely shapes. sort of a nature. So there we go. And remember, it's color or mono. If we go down here, shapes, seeing and understand the impact of shapes in our world. 10th of August is when we submit, and it's color or mono full editing. Full editing is here where all manipulation work is allowed. So if you find one thing and you want to duplicate it in your photo in Photoshop, and you know how to do it properly, because once you start manipulating stuff in Photoshop, then the processing is also judged, the way you process it. And if you're not processing it properly, it could have been a beautiful photo and you're not doing it properly in Photoshop, and then you go, then it's a bit of a fail. Okay, so color or mono, full editing, shapes. The next one is fill the frame, which we will discuss at the next meeting, and hopefully we can then meet again, which would be lovely. So there we go. That's shapes. Oh, wait, just one thing here. Images must be dated from the 29th of November 2020. I had to disqualify 2 photos in the street photography because they were taken before that time. So please remember, this is the day that it was announced. So it's always that day. So yeah, have fun with shapes. So we go back to this. Sorry, I did naming instead of that. So we've done all of that. And so now we're going to do results, street photography. Okay, so here we go. We got the technical challenge for July with street photography. Bertie, thank you so much for doing the slideshows as always. Des was the judge. Be nice. Okay, here we go. So I've got to click on here. 1 star. Business as usual. 9 silver. Brave to take this image and well done. The whites are very bright, however, and detract from the story of the image, which is a really nice street story. The overbrightness could easily be corrected in post-processing. And you know, really well done, people. For some of you really got proper street photography images. We changed it from street photography really to public photography. So even if you were inside in public, those images would apply. Dancers working up next routine. Corne Appel, 11 gold. 11 gold, Corne Appel. I haven't done this for so long, I'm getting confused. Well done, Corne. So like this image. The poles and lights stretching into the sky, mirroring the dancers' moves to come. What would be called distractions in any other category, the road signs really add to the story. Especially like walk, don't walk, it's all very confusing. And taking this image from the low angle is superb. Perhaps just a little bit more contrast. Disqualified, taken in 2014. Lunch break, 9 silver. Nice colours here of a typical scene on the roadside, but it does seem just a little static and snapshotty. Music on the streets, disqualified, taken in 2015. The Diarist, 10 gold, Tom LeBeau. Love the colours here, and the light is almost really great, just a little bit harsh on the side of her face, but a great close cropping here, just showing the essential story. Two star. Impromptu street party, 9 silver. Well done for taking this image. Hope you did not get too many stare downs. You people have been very brave. There's just too much sky here, and if you want to still include it, you need to darken it down in post-processing and bring out some detail. Right now it's just a big bright empty space that I don't feel adds to the story. Just cruising, 5 bronze, giving you points for creativity, but needs real people. It is quite funny. Right, street shopping, 5 bronze, giving you points for effort, but needs people. I want to see people in these images. 3 star. Funky pants, 7 silver. Great expression, but not sharp at all, and the lady is too centered. Giggling ladies, 10 gold. These will keep it weight. Nice moment caught. You could have cropped a bit off the top and bottom to just below the waistline at the bottom and really filled the frame here. Try it. The story is so much stronger. The whites are well handled. Peeping Bergie, 12 gold, Liesl Cooperthwaite. Lovely simplicity here, the red juxtaposing nicely with the drab clothing. And I really like the story. And this is what I saw in the photo. I don't know what you meant. I like the tight cropping that suggests a very narrow, confined life. And looking directly into the edge of the frame suggests very little options for him. Always barriers in the way. I suppose we all interpret things differently. That's what I saw in this image. Well done. Washing shades of white, 5 bronze, giving you points for creativity, but needs people. Four star, but no chips. By Paul Nordier, 13 merit. I got that all confused again. Well done, Paul. Fantastic image. The conversion is wonderful. The tone of the skin is great. The hearts representing love and freedom, juxtaposed with the diamond shape of the fence that keeps you in. Very, very well done. I'm turning the page. I hope it doesn't make too much noise. Essentials, 10 gold, Paul Nordier. Sign of our times for sure. White's well handled, a little bit of noise, but I think that adds to the impression of the noise out there in the marketplace. Enchanter platform, 10 gold, Tracy Rhodes. Wonderful image showing an array of activities. The whites are very bright and could easily be toned down in post-processing. That would have resulted in a much higher mark. Such lovely leading lines and textures. Missed out here big time. Instapic, 10 gold, Heidi Taylor. Definitely another photo that represents a sign of the times. Lovely lines and silhouettes. Just sitting, 7 silver. Nothing in focus really and appears over-processed. Having said that, the lines are lovely and it's a really good 2/3 placement. This is how you do it. 13 merit, Paul Nordier. Fantastic. The whole scene so crisp and sharp, and the reflection in the card totally adds to this great story. Sky a little bit bright in the top left. Five star. A moment with Dad, 10 gold, Ronald van den Heever. Lovely moment caught here. Pity the sun was not in your favour, but shadows have been handled well. Captured attention, 11 gold, Bertie Price. Really enjoying these moments caught by everyone. The dramatic colours here, the blur from the depth of the field in front and back, really like that. The noise gives the impression of lots of noise in the venue. Dipping toes in a mountain stream, 9 silver. Leading lines and rules of third year are great, but the whole image appears pixelated and quite grainy. Important call, 12 gold, Bertie Price. And another snapshot of our lives. Great sharpness on the face, great background blur, and I love the lights at the top. Jumping the queue, 9 silver, and do I dare say it again? Another sign of the times. A bit snapshotty though. Sweet spot for soul reception, 10 gold, Maxi Holder. Lovely muted colours here, good story. Perhaps a little more space on the left to where he's looking would have been good. That's not my bottle, 10 gold, Maxi Holder. Love the roots here, good story of plastic used and discarded. I'm going to say it again, and if you want to say it with me, signs of our times. Tough Life, 12 gold, Ronald van den Heefer. Great moment this, lovely conversion, the light just right on the face, lucky you. You must have a great camera. Just kidding. Lighting well handled, great story. Trickster Terrier, 10 gold, Ronald van den Heefer. Nice moment again here. Pity the dog is not looking up at the ball, but that is being very fussy. And junior winner, let me turn my page again. Liesel Cooperthwaite, Peeping Bergie. Well done, Liesel. Senior winner, Paul Nadir, This Is How You Do It. Well done, Paul. The end, and we'll go on to Westville Challenge results. Okay, so Westville Challenge. The judge was Paul Nadir. Paul, thank you very much for your time. I'm going to go there. Judging. Okay, 1 star. Sisters setting up a wedding cake, 13 merit, Cornelia Appel. A wonderful image with many good attributes. Having the mirror surrounded slightly OOF, out of focus. I'm so out of it. Draws one into the reflection. The other mirrors reflected add depth to the image. A few negatives have been overlooked, being a 1 star, but I'll mention to help you in the future. The reflection could be brighter and the surround darker, but be careful doing this with this image because of the noise. Check your white balance, as this image has a yellow cast which can be eliminated with the white balance adjustment in post-processing, but preferably in camera. If only the mirror was a little lower, or if the photo was taken from a higher vantage point to see more of the subjects, you would have scored even better. Overall, though, very well done. Those are great points you brought up there, Paul. Thank you. 2 star. Autumn Reflections, 11 gold, Denise Harvey. Lovely reflections, and splitting the image in half works well. The reeds lower left and the leaves upper right are a distraction, but even so, a pleasing image. So just be careful, like just there. And yeah, not so much there, but just that there. Okay. Next. Lily Reflection, 8 silver. A good reflection of the Waterblommetjie. A fast shutter speed was used, I assume, to capture the dragonfly. Oh, there's a dragonfly. The upper third could be cropped out as it is a distraction. There is enough in the lower 2/3 to indicate this is a reflection. The focus is set too distant, resulting in the reflections being soft. Try adjusting levels and brightness. So maybe you just crop there. Okay. Sorry, I know the mouse is there. I'm moving the mouse. 3 star. Rose Reflection, 10 gold, Liesel Cooperthwaite. A lovely reflection of the rose with good handling of colour and contrast. It is a pity the base support of the mirror is visible, as it detracts from the subject. A right crop would help a little, as would removing the dust on the mirror. Even with its negatives, this is an appealing image. Water Lily Reflection, 7 silver. The water lily is shown off well, but the reflection is almost absent. The reflection should be the star of the show. Four star. Dessert Spoon, 8 silver. The reflections on the many raised bumps do not indicate what is being reflected, and the spoon offers no further clues. If the spoon was turned over, the reflection of the bumps would be visible, giving a better image. Next time, place the spoon horizontally in the frame so it is all in focus, and crop out all beyond the spoon. A good attempt, and this image has merit, but not enough for the Westville Challenge. Dying Rose, 9 silver. A pleasing image of the rose, lots of texture, but the drop petals have harsh shadows which could have been lessened with a full light. Noise is well handled, but the debris on the mirror requires attention. Cropping left and right a little would eliminate some dead space. The overall problem though is the reflections, which are hardly visible, hence the low score awarded. The potential is there if retaken for a superb image. Just a tip that I was given that I find helps me with mirror and glass when you're trying to clean it, because it's so hard to get rid of this. Use a non-dust cloth, non-lint cloth, that's the word, and use vinegar. And vinegar helps get rid of all this dust as much as you can. And I find very, very little lint left after using like the non-lint and vinegar. Okay, Pride and Joy, 11 gold, Paul Nordea. I judged Paul's image. The reflexes tell the story here, well done. A little unclear at first. You really have to look to find the car washer. But I don't mind that. Any photo that makes you really look is fine by me. Vaal River Bridge, 10 gold, Doug Cooperthwaite. This image really cries out for dramatic clouds, but I know you take what you are given. If it is ever possible to be there with better clouds, make sure you photograph the scene. There is a lot of noise in the image, and with a lower ISO and bigger aperture and a tripod, it could have been eliminated. Yes, the tripod. Five star. Blocks of colour, 12 gold, Bertie Price. A delight of colour. I love that the image was rotated to give this hue, which works so well. Great artistry. The reason for not awarding a merit is the incomplete cleanup of the background. Narcissistic flower. Narcissistic flower. Yes, I've said that right. I know you put these into Foxme. 13 merit, Maxi Holder. Another image with great artistry, absolutely superb. Some cleanup of the water surface would have earned you an extra point. Turning the page. Reflective ponderings on Kenmo. So now when it comes to naming things, Rob has actually called this Reflective Ponderings on Kenmo 6581, but I'm not going to call out the 6581. 10 gold, Rob Hart. Great reflections, and the fact that the trees, etc. at the top of the frame were not included adds to its appeal. A smaller aperture, and I know you used a high ISO, but no tripod, question mark, would have afforded a greater depth of field. The leaves in the foreground are out of focus. Noise is very well handled, but overall the image is too busy with the reeds being a distraction. I know you get to Kenmo and you see these incredible reflections, but some of them are so busy when you take the photo. To the eye, they look so beautiful. Rhino Reflection, 12 gold, Ronel van den Heefer. A gorgeous image with huge appeal and excellent composition. As a 5-star, it is, however, missing that little something extra that would have put it into a merit. Through the Looking Glass, 12 gold, Bertie Price. The mirror presentation is quite subtle but well handled. The focus here is all on the reflection, as there is nothing else in the frame. Good detail and a great image. Tranquil Lake Kenmo, 10 gold, Rob Hart. Kenmo doesn't disappoint. A lovely scene, but with no wow factor. Winter Reflections, 9 silver. This image has been scored quite harshly, as the reflections form only a small part of the image, and on their own have very limited appeal. Zooming in on the chalet in portrait mode would have afforded a great image. The end. And now we go on to the monthly result. Okay, monthly competition. The judge was Alan Nixon from maybe Belito, somewhere down there. Sorry, I should have looked it up before I did this. I cannot stop now. Oh, just Thank you to all our judges. 1 star. Open. Africa Sonsak, 7 silver. Lovely colours in this image and good exposure, excluding the sun, which is always difficult to sort out. The image is in focus in the distance. To improve the image, use a smaller aperture, that is f16 on a tripod, and combined with focusing in the lower third will ensure the rest of the image is in focus as well. Either crop out the sun on the right or use the break up. Use the to break up the glare, which will create sparkles at f18. Sorry, I don't know what he meant by the. So, and you don't even have to do f16, just do f8 should be fine. Peeking through the bars, 5 bronze. A good exposure, but the image is soft. To improve, use a faster shutter speed equal to or faster than your focal length. That is, the image was at f6 at 1/15th of a second at 50 millimeters. If you up your shutter speed to 1/80th of a second or faster handheld help the image would have been in focus. So he's obviously typing very fast, leaving out little words. We do appreciate our judges. Sprinkling a bit of salt, 12 gold, Cornelia apple. A good low key exposure with good focus, creating lots of detail to look at in the image. Very nice black and white tones. Deep blacks and highlights, not overexposed. Love the light on the salt and sieve. Excellent image as a 1 star. Well done. Portrait. My dog Wendy, 7 silver. Nice catch light in the eye and side lighting. Your focus point is on the nose. Works well, but a greater depth of field is needed to get the eyes sharp. Currently f6.3 is too shallow. Also crop a bit tighter to improve the image. There is a little too much contrast in the image, and lifting the shadows will improve the exposure and bring out more detail in the dark areas. ISOs are quite high, creating noise and reducing sharpness. Scapes. Seascape with woolly neck stalk, 8 silver. Good wave action captured in the seascape. Nice rock detail in the foreground. To improve the image, I would crop off the sky as it's not contributing. Sky. There's no sky there. Sky as it's not contributing to the image, which would then create 3 bands of color, the sea, the waves, and the rocks, and in turn would create more focus on the waves. You see, I've got this confused with the next one. Oh, okay. I'm sorry, I don't see where the sky is. Okay, next one. Seascape, 7 silver. Oh, okay, so yes. These are out of order. So I'm going to read this again. 7 silver. Good wave action captured in the seascape. Nice rock detail in the foreground. To improve the image, I will crop off the sky as it's not contributing to the image, which then will create 3 bands of color. The sea, the waves, and the rocks. And in turn would create more focus on the waves. Okay, so he's suggesting crop it off there. The sea, the waves, the rocks. Okay. We'll then go back and I will read the correct comment. The stalk adds an interesting element to the seascape, which is reasonably sharp. The image was shot at f4, but could be sharper with a smaller aperture to increase the depth of field. It's good exposure, but needs more balance between the sea and the rocks to achieve this. Drop the exposure, up the shadows and the whites. So remember, in scapes, you are allowed to do a whole lot of processing, and usually you have to. Okay, so here we go. Wildlife. I Dare You, 12 gold, Tom LeBeau. A beautiful exposure of the buffalo. The shadows have been well handled with lots of detail, nice and sharp. Perhaps a little oversaturated and a little static, but overall a fantastic capture for a 1 star. Well done. Klipspringer Sunset, 10 gold, Tom LeBeau. This image has a lot of impact and really captured the late afternoon light very well. A strange composition with the animal positioned to the right, looking left into the space. I don't know what he means by that. The image is reasonably sharp. It could be sharper with a higher shutter speed than 1/100th of a second at 500mm zoom, as the ISO was low at 64, also a little oversaturated. I don't know what he means by a strange composition. It's a lovely composition. Seeing double, 11 gold, Tom LeBeur. I love the composition in this image with the horns overlapping in a geometric fashion. The image is sharp throughout, the front face with lots of detail, the ears, and one can see the flies. Well done. Here the shutter speed is perfect at 1/6000th of a second at 500mm zoom, resulting in a crisp image. A little oversaturated as the greens are a little too bright and the antelope a little too orange, but lots of impact. Two-star, nature. Bushy-tailed, 9 silver. The pose is unique and works well with the head twisted around. Good focus, exposure, and color. With the ISO 2500, you have done well to limit the noise and still keep this image acceptably sharp. Well done. The reeds in the background and position directly behind the animal does distract, unfortunately, which has brought your score down. To improve the image, it is as simple as changing position. Always check the background, or remove and submit into open. Colourful, 12 gold, Mana Rolifsa. Oh, that's lovely. A beautiful exposure to this image, good detail in the shadows, and the highlights are just right. I love the soft puffs of cloud in the sky. I think here at the bottom. Acceptable focus with good detail in the feathers and nice catch light in the eye. The image is a little static. Maybe next time wait for the bird to fly and get some movement, although you could be there all day with a roller. Smiley face. Wildlife. Ellie having fun, 10 gold, Diane Backhouse. A really nice moment in story capture here and good exposure. There's good depth of field and the background is soft enough, but the image could be sharper with a higher shutter speed than the 400th of a second at 500mm zoom. This would also help freeze the water more and create more definition, and perhaps use 1/1000th of a second. Hyena, 6 bronze. Good black and white tones in this image, although some of the highlights are clipped. Unfortunately, the image is soft and not sharp enough, although there seems to be some detail in the gravel. But the animal's face and fur don't have enough definition. Increasing your aperture above 5.6 and maybe try using spot focusing to achieve a better focus in the image. Hyena, 13 merit, Diane Backhouse. A beautiful portrait of hyena. Really like the engagement of the lens, very captivating. Also good shutter speed and exposure, resulting in a really sharp image which has the nose and ears sharp. If any adjustments could be made, a slight adjustment to the white balance would enhance the image further, as it needs a touch more warmth. And possibly look at wider aperture by 1 or 2 stops to get the rest of the face sharp and still blur the background. Well done. Lilac-breasted roller, 8 silver. An interesting image, but feel it should be in the open category, as this lilac-breasted roller is not being portrayed in its natural environment, white background, and some of the edges of the feathers on the head blown out. But I like the starkness created here. The bird itself is a little underexposed, leaving the colors a little dull. The eyes nice and sharp with a beautiful catch light, and there's good detail in the feathers. The white background, I'm sure, is sky that's just been blown out. So, yeah, just keep it in wildlife, Diane. Okay, lioness, 6 bronze. A nice moment in story captured of a lioness walking with intent. Overall a good exposure, but the image is a little blurred. To correct this, increase your shutter speed from 400 to 1/100th of a second, and change your focus mode to continuous focus, which will automatically keep the focus. When a subject moves towards the camera, the focus distance is always changing, so using a one-shot focus will always lag behind. Rhino 6 bronze. Good exposure with fair focus, although the bush in the background seems to be the focus point. Using spot focus will add a higher shutter speed and will improve the image. Reasonable detail in the heart of the rhino, considering the focus. What are you looking at? 13 Merit Monarulitsa. A captivating and impactful image with an excellent use of negative space in the composition, showing nice creativity in the capture. Good focus and exposure, although the exposure could be lifted slightly. Three star. Open. Good morning, 7 silver. I love the idea of the image, looking for some detail in the whiskers through a silhouette. Good use of bokeh in the background. Unfortunately, only a couple of whiskers at the bottom are in focus, and the rest of the image is soft. To improve the image, use a smaller aperture, f8, and use a single focus point where there is contrast in the light to ensure correct focus. That's such a lovely idea. And I hope whoever took that, you go out and do it again. Sugared strawberry, 9 silver. A tasty image with really nice detail on the leaves and foreground of the strawberry. Nice bright lighting, but a little overexposed. The composition is a little tight at the bottom and needs more room. Also consider changing the angle of the camera and a faster shutter speed to freeze the sugar for a more dynamic image. Okay, the other thing about the sugar, you've probably used real sugar, I'm just assuming here. Try using caster sugar, which is finer, and when it falls gentler, and you get a better blur, and you just get a better look and feel overall. Just try that next time. Photo art, creative. Fantasy flower, 9 silver. The artwork has impact, and being abstract does make one pause to think. I find the image generally a bit dark and feel there could be less color combinations and lacks direction. Because of this, give the viewer guidance. Do you want them to feel coolness or warmth, bright or sad? At the moment, you will find that the whole color palette in the abstract art, which becomes a fruit salad of color. Try look at complementary or supplementary colors on the color wheel as a guide for more of a story. Photojournalism. Okay, image should be in open or nature. I think maybe because we had street photography as technical challenge, maybe this person got confused. And this as well, image should be in open or nature. Scapes. Here comes the sun. 9 silver. A really nice sunrise captured in this image. The clouds create lots of drama and also help with the exposure of the sun. I love the rich colors and the directions of the high cloud make it dramatic. There's a touch of green coming into the sunrise, so be careful of the oversaturation. I would crop off the shoreline and apply the rule of fifth. I don't know what that means. The horizon is not straight, unfortunately, which has dropped the score. On the Wings of the Storm, 10 gold, Jake Ellerton. A well-timed capture of the lightning, well done. The composition works well and was quite fortunate with the lightning falling on the third. The exposure could do with shadows and highlights lifted slightly. Okay. Pergola, 7 silver. This is not really an image that should be in the scapes category. Good leading lines created by the repetition of the architecture leading to the window. Good focus in the foreground, but would have liked the focal point window to be sharper. This could be achieved by a smaller aperture, f14 and above. The verticals are straight, but not all the horizontals. Always difficult with architecture. Use the transform tools in Lightroom or Photoshop to adjust this. Exposure is a little flat and could use more contrast. The Road to Orania, 8 silver. Gosh, that's different. Strong leading lines take the viewer into the image. The image is sharp and well exposed. I like the elevated view, which is unusual. To improve, maybe change the angle slightly and move to the right to get more of the iron bridge in profile, which is an interesting feature of the bridge. The netting is a little too strong in the bottom corners. The sepia does age and flatten the image. Four-star, action and sport. Cycling fun, 9 silver. A lovely fun moment captured here. The 3 cyclists are good balance. Good focus on the front cyclist. Would have liked to see the other 2 also a bit sharper, as they are very much part of the image, or use a shallower depth of field and isolate the front cyclist. A reasonable exposure, but a little bright and can be reduced. The eye contact works as it's in informal fun setting. There is a little chromatic aberration on the sleeve of the cyclist on the right. I like the movement of the wheels. I think he's referring to there. I don't know. It just looks blurry. I don't know. Next, nature. Cosmos, 11 gold, Heidi Taylor. A lovely tone to this black and white nature image. The shallow depth of field helps to soften the background and separate the main subject from the background. A good balanced composition, and I don't mind 2 flowers, as the smaller, softer flower balances the size of the main focus point. The foreground flower, really nice detail and exposure on the main flower, super image. Open, old door, 8 silver. Nice textures and good balance in the exposure, bringing out the muted tones. The focus is reasonable with such a low shutter speed, 1/5 of a second at 24mm focal length. The composition is cluttered with no real focal point, as all the elements have equal weighting. To improve the composition, maybe move in closer and focus on one element at a wide aperture, leaving the other elements a little softer through depth of field, thus not competing with your main elements. Pink Dying Rose, 10 gold, Tracy Rhodes. Good focus and exposure on the rose. The image is nice and sharp, giving us nice detail on the petals. The pink and green elements work well together. The elements in the background should either be all there or not at all. I would lift the shadows and reveal some of the background elements to complement the rose to improve the image. Quiet Time, 11 gold, Heidi Taylor. Kinmo. A very nice exposure with good detail in the shadows, and the image is nice and sharp, creating lots of detail on the leaves. A strong composition with the lines created by the leaves and shoreline, with just enough of the foreground bank to hold the image. The oranges and blue complementary colors work very well together, which creates impact. I would have loved to see someone sitting on the bench in this image, which would have rounded off an otherwise excellent image. Road to Nowhere, 11 gold, Tracy Rhodes. Such a nice background image, beautiful background, black and white, Such a nice black and white image, beautiful black and white tones and excellent contrast. Very strong composition, using leading lines to lead the viewer to the gate at the end of the road. The focus is a little distracting, as the focus point is too deep within the image. I would have loved to see more detail in the foreground, in particular the rocks on the left, which are quite prominent in the image. So the idea is, when you're doing landscape, is F8 is your mate, and you focus 1/3 of the way into the image, and then there's a whole lot of technical reasons why. You can look it up. Before and after will be completely in focus. So F8 is your mate. 1/3, and then you should get it all. Moving on. Washing day, 9 silver. A good exposure with reasonable focus. The single subject in the image works well and is well placed within the image on the lower thirds. The rock in the foreground is too prominent, and a better camera angle would have worked well, leaving the foreground clean with perhaps more water, blue. The shadows can also be lifted. Scapes. Choppy sea, 9 silver. Oh, I like that. Good wave action and splash captured. The whites are nicely handled with no overexposure. There is a good foreground detail but needs to be in focus. F11 does create a good depth of field, but could be higher. Your ISO is quite low and could be increased to compensate to improve the image. Focus on the foreground, and with the correct depth of field, the rest of the image will be sharp. Endless road, 9 silver. A nice opportunity seen and taken on the road. The clouds have been very well captured and add drama to the image. The focus is good but a little underexposed as the shadows have lost detail. I like the composition giving more room to the sky and clouds because that's where the story is, and the road adds such a strong angle. The horizon needs straightening and the tree on the right is a little intrusive. Doug, I'm sure you'll argue, sorry, I know you got a silver, I'm not supposed to say your name, but I'm sure you're going to argue with him about the horizon, because we all remember your talk. Meringspoort, 10 gold, Doug Cooperthwaite. A strong composition with the kloof ridges and road features creating strong leading lines to cars. A reasonable exposure considering the time of day, with the brights handled nicely, but the shadows need lifting to expose more detail. The road less travelled, 10 gold, Heidi Taylor. The beautiful scene captured, and I love the winding road and good focus and detail throughout the image. Understanding that the clouds are difficult to expose at any time of day, the majority of the image is a little underexposed. To solve this, do multiple exposures and blend the sky and the foreground. Wildlife. Resting, 10 gold, Avril Janssen. I like the composition of the beetle to the left of center, a little underexposed and could be brighter. Focus is reasonable. A good depth of field separates the subject from the background. Five star, action and sport. Polar Cross in the Dust, 12 gold, Des van Tonder. A really nice action image with lots of interest. I like the ball clear of the action. There is such a lovely feel to the lighting and exposure. Lighting and exposure. Although the highlights are a little bright and can be dropped. White pants. The image is sharp, but there's quite a lot of noise which softens the image. Nature. Feathered cloak, disqualified. Background has been retouched and cloned. That's my image, and that is incorrect. Moving on. Pretty butterfly, 12 gold, Des van Tonder. Beautiful image, amazing detail in the butterfly and flower. Love the depth of field falling off gently. Excellent exposure considering the bright sunlight, a little over sharpened though. I'm just not commenting. Open. A dangerous game of fetch, 8 silver. A strong diagonal composition which creates impact. A nice creative approach with the effect applied, but I feel it distracts from potentially a good nature story, as the effect overpowers and distracts from the subject. A rough branch cushioning my fall, 10 gold, Nola Maring. An unusual and interesting image, which does create questions in the viewer's mind. The focus is reasonable, but a smaller aperture would have had the bark and focus as well. The overall exposure is reasonable, but the background and foreground need more exposure balancing. Try dropping the exposure and lifting the shadows and highlights to achieve this. The shutter speed is also a little high for a stationary subject. Okay. No comment. Candlelight Chess, 10 gold, Bertie Price. A really nice idea with good focus, and I like the diagonal composition of the board and nice reflections. Although it's a high contrast image, the detail and story has been lost. Lift the exposure slightly, as well as the shadows, and reduce the highlights to improve the image. Dancing Queen, 10 gold, Bertie Price. Very good exposure and lighting with lots of detail in the smoke. I love the 3 twirls. The composition would have been stronger and more balanced if there was more room at the top, creating a more portrait format, leaving room for the smoke to trail off. Maximum Volume, 10 gold, Bertie Price. A really nice creative idea with good focus. I like the hand, which adds to the story. Nice strong blacks, but whites are slightly blown. This image has a lot of potential. The composition is a little left, with the space on the right not contributing to image or story. Crop the right hand side, no pun intended, and lift the shadows to give us a bit more detail. Be careful of hands and nails, as they can find blemishes. Make sure you retouch those. Monolight Splash, 12 gold, Ronald van den Heever. Lovely idea and execution. Love the lighting on the water. Well done. The image is really sharp. I would just lift the whole exposure and create a cleaner image. The off-center pour is distracting, as it's a centered graphic image, an appealing image. Sorry, I think that was me pouring. Sorry, Ronald. You had to get a better pourer. Painterly Autumn Reflections, 12 gold, Nola Mayron. A really nice use of editing effects and possibly in-camera movement, creating a creative and abstract image. I would drop the exposure slightly, as it's a little bright, and increase the vibrance to make the autumn colors richer. Also look at slightly straightening the reed's horizontal line. Sure, I've been talking a lot. Okay, almost done. Escapes, Blythe River Canyon, 9 silver. A beautiful scene captured here, and love the composition and rock detail in the foreground that is nice and sharp. There is good depth of field, and the highlights on the water are well managed and add to the image. The image is a little underexposed, and would have loved to see more detail in the shadows to balance the exposure. There is ghosting on the mountain edges and chromatic aberration on the left mountain ridges. Careful with the over-sharpening. Wildlife. All dressed up and nowhere to go, 13 Merit, Ronald van den Heever. A beautiful image of a coot, excellent exposure and shutter resulting in a crisp image. Lovely composition with good use of negative space, and the weeds add a little bit extra to the story. Great image. How's that for sharpness? Sure. Bennett's Woodcutter, 9 silver. A well-taken opportunity with a good composition, placing the bird clear of any branches. A good depth of field separates the subject from the background nicely. Unfortunately, there is not enough detail in the feathers, possibly due to overdoing the noise reduction. Hope It's Mum with Food, 12 gold, Maxi Holder. You see how good her captions are. Good exposure and detail in this image, and nice catchlight in the eye. Possible improvement would be to lift the whites and then balance that by dropping the exposure, just to give the image a little more impact, as it's a little static, but still a good capture. Hoverfly. So you see, Rob is another Hoverfly, 7658, but I'm not going to call out the 7658. Hoverfly, 11 gold, Rob Hart. Beautiful macro shot, amazing detail in the eye. A slow shutter has created movement in the wings, which also prevents the image being static, but this affected the detail and focus on the body. Jumping spider, 12 gold, Rob Hart. I love the red and black color contrast in this image. Good detail and exposure. The angle also adds to the impact of the image. Stumpy, 12 gold, Ronald van den Heefer. I love the tone of this image. Beautiful exposure and nice and sharp on the right bits. Nice soft background with the depth of field. I would crop right of the image, which would balance the composition, as the head and tail are of equal weighting visually, and that would place each of those on the thirds. Thick knee on bent knees. 12 gold, Rob Hart. A really unusual image captured here. The exposure is well handled in the harsh light, but the white balance is off, with blue tinges appearing in the shadows and on the whites. Warm up the white balance to improve the image. Okay, so we're going to go to the winners now. Please remember that it is the judge's prerogative to choose whatever winner that he believes stands out amongst everything else. It doesn't always have to be the highest scoring image, so be warned. Junior image. Mana Rulasa, what are you looking at? Your winning streak continues, Mana. And for senior, Heidi Taylor Cosmos. Well done, Heidi. The end. Okay, so as you know, Bespoke Canvas. Congratulate Mana and Heidi, who will receive an A5 canvas as Junior and Senior monthly winners. So because of Armageddon last week and everything happening, I've sent them the images and I've given them till the end of next week. Okay, just so everything's calm and everybody can just slowly get back into their lives. So Mana and Heidi, as soon as I have the canvases, I will arrange to meet you somewhere and I will give you your winning images. Okay, so that's it, folks. Thank you so much for watching. I really hope we can start meeting again from next month, and it would have been nice to meet. I think it would have been really comforting, but with no social gatherings. The Moth Hall, the bar down there, they've also closed. I checked with them last week and they were all safe, because there were all sorts of things happening down there at the Woodburn Centre and that. Yeah, stay safe, stay warm. COVID is still around, so don't forget about that. And hopefully to see you soon. Over and out.